How are we doing? Let's see. Mic check, mic check. Hey, looks like we're doing okay, huh? Check my stuff. Check, check, check. Mic check, mic check. Check, check, check. We have volume. Mic check. All right. Hey, it looks like I came through sooner than I thought. Okay, great. Well, hey, we're live. My name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them online. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons and Dragons since the release of Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica for 5th edition back in 2017. That led us to creating the Color Mana Spell Point variant rules, which are currently on DMsGuild. You can check them out with extensive free previews to see if you think it's cool for your campaign. You can see right here. We also finished the Spelljammer book. Pacts and Patrons of Ravnica is 10 otherworldly patrons based around the guilds, where you become a guild mage as a warlock for each of the guilds in Ravnica. And like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, blah, blah, stick around. I'm here 10 times per week. I'm Monday through Friday in the morning, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays at lunch like this doing game design. I'm also on Monday and Thursday nights doing Spelljammer art. So check this stuff out. Let's dive into it. And just for reference, we're looking at the Martial Powers document that is a Google Docs right now. It is a read-only alpha test model. So it's still a real rough draft, and it's read-only, but you can read along if you're interested by going into my Patreon. You don't have to be a member of Patreon, but if you click here, you'll see where we're at right now. Hey, guys. Otherwise, you can click Martial Powers, and it takes you to the same document that we're on right here, right now. So check it out. We convert we give using the system of the color mana system that we have here on the DMsGuild. If you were to click into, say, the core mechanics book, and you want to check that out on free previews, then you can see here, right up front, spell point variant tables. A half casting class has up to 40 mana at 20th level. We're using the third casting progression as a monk, gaining one mana per level. And hold on here, let's go back to here. Cool. So we're using the half casting progression for all the martial characters, so they gain 1 point of mana per level. We have the power die, which is kind of like a combination between martial arts die, bardic inspiration die, and superiority die. D6 at first level, D8, and then expands to a D10. Some classes have different variables that go into that, either more dice or a higher sided die than this base model, but this is just the generic going in. We prepare powers each day. 2 at first level, and it eventually clicks up to 11 at 10th level, and then every other level you gain a power until you cap with 16 powers at 20th level. On top of that, each subclass from each of the martial classes gains a power list that when you gain certain levels of the class that you're in, you gain free powers, which could be a selection of feats, weapon damage types, combat masteries, or disciplines that require mana to spend, kind of like Way of the Four Elements monk has disciplines that you can spend mana on as well. It's a 1-to-1 point ratio, which we spend a lot of time detailing both in the core mechanics book, the elemental key book, and the spell point warlocks book. There's also the Knights and Tricksters book, which goes into arcane tricksters and eldritch knights specifically. All of those use the same color mana system. And so this book uses it as well. When we're done and this book is published, which will be after September 2024, because we want to make sure that everything is compliant with the new rule set that's coming out for Player's Handbook. But once it does, all 13 classes will have the same color mana, have the same mana resource, where all the half casters, full casters, third casters, and short rest casters are all using the same type of mana language with the same spell point spend to gain. And then the color mana system can basically overlay that as a means of devoting mana to different color pools to cast specific spell types. There's also an elemental key system where you could have air, earth, fire, and water as elemental mana that can be devoted to different effects, that like Fireball's a fire effect, right? Grasp of the Winter's Grasp of Winter's Claw is, I think, a 4 elemental effect that does hold person. That's an air-based power. There you go. Stuff like that. Water walk is a water-based power. So you have the 4 elements as 4 different aspects of magic. The 5-color mana system has 5 aspects of magic: white, blue, black, red, and green, which are well documented throughout the Magic the Gathering stuff. If you're interested in more deep details about the psychology into Magic the Gathering and color philosophy, check out Dice Try on YouTube. Big friend of the channel. Love his work. So yesterday we went through some of the initial notes about the playtest that we ran on Saturday. The character's a 3rd level. We gleaned a lot of useful information, but something else that was just kind of grinding a bit for me that we were able to iron out was the giant growth power, and it's a sustained power, which means that you sustain it like as a concentration effect. With this system, you can stack multiple sustained or concentration effects. If you're 1st rank, then you can sustain 1 rank of power, or like a 1st level spell. If you're 17th level, you can stack up to 5 ranks of sustained effects, which would be effectively like a 5th level spell, or like a 4th level and a 1st level, or like a 3rd and a 2nd, or 5 first, or a 2nd first, or a 2nd first. As long as it equals up to 5, you can sustain 5 of these effects at the same time. It increases the difficulty of maintaining concentration as it scales up, but that's the risk-reward element that goes into it. Hey, Goblin! Goblin is our barbarian. So he's been our playtester on that, and I'm looking forward to gaming again on Saturday. But let's go down and take a look at what Giant Growth does. Normally, Giant Growth is a 2nd rank power, which means you wouldn't have access to it until 5th level, because it requires 2 mana for you to activate. Let's go to the... Come on, boyo. There. Take this up to the top. Right, 2nd rank power, 5th level, it's half casting progression, right? So normally you wouldn't have access to this until 5th level. And what it does is when you spend 2 mana, you become size large, your space is larger, your weight is greater. That should actually be times 8 and times 16. Reach increases by 5 feet. Reach increases by 10 feet when you're huge. Takes 4 mana, which means you wouldn't be able to be huge size until 14th level under normal circumstances. You can see here, up 13th level under normal circumstances. Let's see. Large, space, weight, reach. You gain a bonus to strength ability checks and damage increases. This, let's see, applies to melee weapon attack. When huge, add both dice. When huge, add the highest power die. Results to your ability checks. So like when you're making strength ability checks and when you're size large, you'd roll your power die is a d6 at 5th level. So you'd roll a d6 and you'd add that to the result of any strength checks that you make. And when you're dealing damage with a melee weapon, either in melee combat or thrown, you'd add 1 power die to the damage type. The enlarged spell, coincidentally, adds a d4 to your damage rolls. This is adding a d6, then d8, then d10, eventually at higher and higher mana costs. So the Path of the Giant cheats this, though. So the way that the Path of the Giant works, I'll catch up with you in a second. The way that Path of the Giant works is giant stature. So instead of it being a 2nd rank power, for the Path of the Giant, it is a 1st rank power, which means you can cast it at 3rd level or channel it at 3rd level. It's a sustained effect, which means it requires concentration. And the concentration DC for all powers is 10 plus the number of ranks of mana that you are sustaining. So normally at 5th level 2, it'd be a DC of 12 or higher. If you're taking damage, it's half the damage, or 12, whichever is higher. And it triggers, you have to make a concentration check every time you make a saving throw. So if you're making, if you are sustaining an effect and you fail the saving throw, then the sustained power is ended, and the mana burns, and then you'll have to use it again. However, there's an exception to this, in which you can lock an ability instead of sustaining it. If you choose to lock a power, you don't have to maintain concentration on it anymore. There is no concentration check, but you effectively reduce the amount of mana that you can use by the same number of ranks of the power that you sustained. So if you are sustaining a 2 mana giant growth at 5th level, the max rank that you have is 2. If you lock both of those channels, you effectively can't use mana anymore. It reduces your channeling max to 0, which means you can only use like cantrip type effects. So there's some effects in here that give you free mana, but even that is just giving you free mana. It still counts as ranks. So if you lock all of your channels, you can't channel mana anymore. The exception to this, an exception of that exception, is that while a barbarian is raging, their channels don't lock. You're still restricted to your max channel limit for number of powers that you can sustain at the same time, but it doesn't prevent you from using mana to trigger like strikes, reactions, exploits, and maneuvers. So it's a rule with an exception to a rule with an exception within the exception. It's seeded caveats inside of the system. And to take it one step further, Giant's Havoc reduces the cost of giant growth from 2 to 1. So at 3rd level, while raging only, you can channel it as a first rank power. It doesn't block your channels, but it's the only thing that you can sustain. When you get to 5th level, you can sustain it outside of raging if you're willing to spend mana to do so. It still only takes 1 mana to do so. And then at 13th level, you can sustain it as a huge creature. Instead of spending 4 mana, you spend 3, and it only requires it ties up 3 ranks of concentration, or if you lock it, then it counts as 3 ranks. At 13th level, you have 4 ranks, so if you lock 3 of them, you still have one open. So hey, let's catch up. So I'm not in the Google Doc on stream. Oh, I'm blocking. Oop. I forgot to rearrange my windows. Thanks for the heads up. And we should be rearranged now. Thank you. You guys missed all that stuff. Okay, so going back. Oh, feel bad. Feels real bad. So here's the full playlist. Here is the playtest content. If you click there, it takes you to the Patreon. You can click on Martial Powers. That opens up. That's the document that we're using here. If you click here into the color mana system, you'll see a bunch of books. Here is the book I was referencing for the half casting progression. Here, thanks for the heads up, Gob. And then here's your full casting progression, half casting progression, and third casting progression. 20th level, it's 80, 40, and 100. If Sorcerer would have 100 instead of 80. You're going to see some cool modifications to the Sorcerer in September. Let me make sure I have the rest. Like how I was pseudo excited for this prior, but after playing a session, it has started to activate my monkey neurons. Glad to hear it, man. I think the only difference between sustain and locked is that locked doesn't mean that you don't use it means, yeah, if you lock something, you don't have to maintain concentration anymore. For a barbarian, basically means that you don't have to concentrate on it, because you can't concentrate while you're raging. So it makes sense that when you rage, anything that you sustain automatically locks. And since it's a barbarian feature, it doesn't block your channels while you're when you lock them on. So most like a fighter, for instance, a 5th level fighter, if it had giant growth, it would tie up both channels, and you could just maintain concentration on it and still use everything else. Kind of like a cleric that maintains concentration on guardian spirits. It doesn't prevent them from casting other spells. It's just their concentration is tied up. So sustaining doesn't tie up your concentration. Locking doesn't tie up your concentration, but it also it doesn't prevent you from being able to cast other spells as well, or cast spells or channel other powers even. So misworded. Yeah. So I think we're pretty much up to date there. That's the only change that I felt we needed to do for Path of the Giant, but there's other stuff here that we wanted to look at. There was the question about why not make powers that can deafen, and I suppose there's some merit to that. There could be the problem is there's not a lot of value in game to deafening things. I think it causes miscasting if you're deafened, but there's less and less creatures that require casting. It would be more of an exploit that DMs would be able to use against casters to hit them with a thunderclap, and now they're deaf until they can succeed a Constitution saving throw to shake out of it. But I don't currently see a huge value in creating a power specifically that can deafen people. There could be, you know what? There could be value in the masteries. Let's go check those out. So mastery, there's the idea of weapon masteries that the DMsGuild, that Wizards of the Coast came out with during their playtesting, where each type of weapon can do bonus stuff. This is combat masteries act as cantrips, where you can have the same array of type of stuff, except that it's not limited. It becomes just a thing you can do. It's like a skill that you learn in combat. If you're proficient with something, then you can use, if you know one of these techniques or one of these masteries, you can use it with any weapon. So if I was using a dagger and I knew the push mastery, then when I hit you with a dagger, I can push you 5 feet. A dagger on its own, if Wizards decides to pull the trigger on weapon masteries, then basically what that would mean is that, like, if I have a heavy warhammer, that has the push function, and heavy crossbows have the push function. If I had, if I knew Vex as a combat mastery, target makes an intelligence saving throw or is at disadvantage on the next attack roll until the end of his next turn. If I was using a heavy crossbow, I could choose push because that's part of the weapon, or because I know how to Vex, I could use Vex as my attack instead. Maybe I put an arrow through his knee or something, and now the target's stumbling around, so now they have disadvantage on their attack roll, for instance. So we could do something like deafen. Target makes a con save or is deafened until the end of their next turn. Period. But it's such a niche. This would be like clocking somebody in the side of the head and it rattles out their ears. Yeah, that's right. City guards align. But honestly, compared to other stuff that can happen, I don't see a lot of value in it. So I'm just going to leave it here with a mark. I'm just going to put an asterisk next to it. Not high likely to survive playtesting. But I mean, it works. It's a thing. It's just so niche that that is questionable. What about blinding strike though? Blinding strike, your weapon can deal radiant damage and adds 1 power and add. Your weapon can deal radiant damage and add 1 power die per mana burned. In addition, the creature is blinded. The creature can attempt to end this effect by succeeding a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turns. It's automatically blinded, which basically gives you advantage and them disadvantage, and then they can save at the end of each turn. It's not huge. It's 2 mana. It's going to deal an extra 2 dice to do it. So the real benefit is the damage that you're dealing, but then the blinded condition is really useful. Like a rogue using blinding strike is pretty. That's a pretty good efficient use. Like thundering strike pushes, so I don't want to add deafening to it. That just, it's like a hat on a hat. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna let that sit for now. Hey, text, what's up? By the way, do you prepare masteries like you do other things, or is it just free for? Oh, yeah. Masteries. Anything that's in here. Masteries can be prepared. So there's a number of things, right? So there's the actual disciplines here, which cost mana to use, and you have to be like 9th level to have access to Bursting Strike or Paralyzing Strike, for instance. And but then the masteries, they don't have a minimum limit, so you can gain these at first level, and you can learn as many of them as you want, and they're not learn, but prepare as many as you want. So yes, it's all prepared casting with a long rest, or prepared powers on a long rest. There's also a stack of feats as powers, combat masteries as powers, which is the indication that you can relearn them, or you can prepare them as powers. Feats, there's a select list of feats that can be learned as powers or prepared as powers instead of preparing an actual power. You can, of course, learn them as a feat, and have feats that would like give you a bonus to a stat. You don't get the bonus to a stat unless you actually learn it instead of an ASI. So feats, you could like for example, I think Crusher gives you a bonus to strength, maybe like a +1 to strength or constitution, plus all the cool bludgeoning damage stuff that it gets. But as a power, you just get the cool bludgeoning stuff. You don't get the stat advantage or the bonus stat. And then there's also damage types. At first level, you can learn basic damage types, which is acid, cold, fire, lightning, and poison, which basically means that whenever you use your weapon, you can deal this type of damage instead of the bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage that you would normally use. And the advanced form, which you can gain at 5th level, would be force, necrotic, psychic, radiant, and thunder damage. This steps over the idea that it gives you a way to have magical damage or magical weapons anytime, like if you're facing creatures that are immune, like that have resistance to BPS, then you could learn a damage type so that you're always dealing acid damage, or you're always dealing cold or fire damage. This is also a way to nerf / neutralize the effects of like a barbarian in the party, or anyone else that's tanking damage a lot. Adding these things on can take that it makes that resistance irrelevant. So when the DM is using stuff, be selective when you are applying damage types to creatures' abilities, because especially at low levels, you want to be able to actually utilize that resistance. It makes a big difference. But as characters gain in CR, seeing variant damage types is going to become more and more common, especially amongst bosses, brutes, and lieutenant type creatures. But like minion type creatures, not giving them damage types in general is good unless you're attempting to balance combat. So do you take up? Yes. Yeah, the masteries. Yeah, they would take up a prepared slot. Yeah, anything that can be learned anything that as a power. Damage types as powers, feats as powers, and combat masteries as powers. They are things that you prepare like a spell or like a cantrip. But they always apply to these things. Always apply to any kind of attack that you want, unarmed, natural, or any weapon that you're proficient with. You can always use it, and you can use it every attack. Like I think the Wizards is proposing the weapon masteries that you can, I think, use like once per round. But like these, like you can, like for example, if you're using a combat mastery with an opportunity attack, you can hit with an opportunity attack, and if you have the step power or the step mastery, when you hit with the opportunity attack, you can shift 5 feet as well, potentially moving close enough to them so that they stay within range of your weapon. So if somebody tries to step out of your attack, you make an opportunity attack, you hit them. The things only trigger when you hit. So if you're trying to get out of reach of me, I make an opportunity attack, I hit you, I then use the step mastery, so I step 5 feet. So if the target isn't moving enough to navigate away from you, you can stay inside of their space and they can't get away from you. So you can effectively stay inside melee with them, which is a fun thing. So here you are, extra attack, right, plus push, right. Then walk forward, right. Then an attack plus push, then use reaction plus push. Yeah, you could do that. Yep, attack, push, yep. And then you move forward, then you attack and push again, yep. And then you use reaction, action, and push. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's but that's like, that'd be, with the extra attack, that'd be like 5th level. So where you'd always have the secondary attack, a warlock of 5th level has 2 Eldritch Blasts, could repel 20 feet on their own, as basically as an invocation that they've learned. So this is allowing you to kind of keep tempo with that. Yeah, Berserker push. Yeah, push them across the board, man. And it's forced movement, and in the system, forced movement can trigger opportunity attacks. So you could push people through a cloud, and each of you can take stabs at them as they go by. So they get into your space, and then you push them outside. You push them into somebody's space, and then you can push them out of somebody's space. And then whoever that was that you're moving that target away from could take a stab at them. All we're trying to do is make sure you're making the most of your action economy with more options each round. There's not the forced movement. It encourages that. Like the forced movement doesn't change spell interaction, for instance. Like anything, any kind of BS that you could do, like with Guardian Spirits or like Spike Growth. All that stuff that you can do with forced movement already still exists. This is just allowing you to use forced movement to take advantage of opportunity attacks, so you can set people up for opportunities. And if you want to use, I mean, the mastery is great. You can also use strike powers with it. So if you wanted to dump extra mana when you're making your opportunity attack, you can certainly trigger those to have even more effects. Which, if you're using Thundering Strike, you could lob somebody else through someone else's area of effect that could then use their opportunity attack to trigger another Thundering Strike, which could push somebody into somebody else's effect. Fun stuff. Really, really fun stack stuff. You could ready an action to shunt. Since shunt is a maneuver that can be triggered as an action or as a bonus action. So if you wanted to hold an action for when somebody leaves your space, you could trigger shunt, which would punt them an extra 10 feet. So yeah, fun stuff. And shunt allows you to trigger multiple things. So there's a lot of action economy that can be gained from this stuff. Or like the flatten. Choose a target you can see. It takes 1 power die of damage per mana spent, of force damage, and it's knocked prone. Automatically knocked prone. And the target has to use its action to stand or make a saving throw at the end of its turn. So this would allow you can prep any maneuver as a ready to action. So you would be able to, like, if somebody's getting punched through a lot of space, you can ready reaction to flatten somebody that's leaving that's like being forced movement. You can flatten them at any time you wanted. Fun stuff. Let's go look at, so other things that were on my list, the stuff to do. We want to simplify mana decisions for the 4 Ellies. We want to look again at the Mastermind, the Banneret, and the Berserker. So that's what's on our plate today. So let's go check out the Berserker again and see Path of the Berserker. So here's the cool ship Berserker gets. Dire Impact, which adds your channeling stat to your damage. Charge allows you to gain a power die to your attack roll, and I think it's double damage when you hit. It's an exploit. So charge is an exploit, which triggers when you move. So it's real good action economy, but it can be expensive. So charge. When you take the move action, you can channel this power to prevent triggering opportunity attacks during your movement, which is useful. And then the first attack you make during this movement, during or after this movement can roll 1 power die per mana channel, adding the highest roll to the result of the attack roll. Like if I throw 3 mana and I'm rolling d8s, d8, 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 I'd only keep the best result. The other 2 dice would be thrown away. So there is after 2 dice, it becomes iffy whether you're going to gain any real benefit or not, because with 2 dice, it's likely you're going to roll a 5 or better on an 8-sided die, or like a 4 or better on a 6-sided die, 6 or better on a 10-sided die. So it has reduced returns of investment once you move past 2 dice, but you can. If you really need to stick something, you can throw as much dice as your max channel limit lets you, but there are depreciating returns. So basically what this does is just lets you line up and deal extra damage on attack. There's also, different from this, is Overrun, which is you can also channel this exploit as part of a move action. And exploits are separate, so you can trigger them both at the same time. Overrun is 1 damage, is 1 mana, and charge is one mana. So Overrun, channeling this exploit is part of the move action. You can move through spaces occupied by creatures. This movement can trigger opportunity attacks unless you kick the power, burning 3 or more mana to do so. So as 1 mana, you can walk through targets, but you'll get opportunity attacks if you try. If you spend 3 mana, it doesn't cost, you do not trigger opportunity attacks. However, if you're using this with charge, it will automatically prevent opportunity attacks. So specific overrides, general. So if you have overrun and charge going, you could have 2 mana instead of 3 to be able to prevent opportunity attacks. So there's value there, but you have to prepare both of those powers together. Creatures moved through this way take 1 power die of force damage for each mana burned. If you end your turn in a space occupied by another creature, you instead end your turn on the most recently unoccupied space that you move through during your turn without dealing any damage to that creature. Creatures can only take damage this way once each turn. So yeah, so you can run through creatures and deal dice to them. At 17th level, you can stack this up to 5d10 damage. So if I spend 5 damage, I then start running. I can move through every enemy that I could reach during the battle, and I could deal 5d10 damage to each one of them. And that damage is automatic. Let's see. Natural Hunter. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But the point was charge, which allows you to close distance and deal damage. That's specifically what the Berserker is getting. Intimidating Strike. You hit them, they're afraid of you. Commanding Presence is you gain, it's an exploit, so you get to add power dice to your intimidation and other checks. Yeah, let's look at that real quick. Commanding Presence. When making an ability check that uses intimidation's performance or persuasion skills, roll 1 power die per mana channel. You don't have to be proficient in those skills. It just has to be an option. Like if you're in a if your Berserker is in a conversation with some debutante, for instance, and you wanted to put the moves on the debutante, you might not be proficient in persuasion, but if you have commanding presence, you could burn a point of mana and add a power die to the result that you get for your persuasion check, assuming using your charisma. Let me check. So apparently Berserker can attack 4 times in one turn. Now that's, yeah. You know, something tells me a Minotaur would love this. very, very much so. Yeah, and this is an exploit. So however many dice you roll, the best one you keep. Basically, whenever you're rolling a 20-sided die and you're modifying it with power dice, kind of like a Bardic Inspiration sort of die, you're always just going to keep the best result. So, and the die roll that you get isn't as strong as the Bardic die. Bards are like D8, D10, D12, while this is D6, D8, D10. I'm going to pull the class out. Hypertunistic and Double Strike. Hypertunistic is an exploit. So let's look at that real quick, just to give you a flavor for what the thing can do. Hypertunistic. When you make an opportunity attack, you can make an extra attack against the same creature. So you can hit it twice, basically. It costs 3 mana every time you use it, so it's expensive. There's 2, that's why that 2 is there. There's First Strike and Hypertunistic. First Strike is cool when you roll initiative. If an enemy is within range of your weapon attack, you make an attack roll against that enemy instead. The result of the roll is your initiative count, in addition to dealing any damage on if the attack succeeds. So it's like an instant effect. Roll for initiative. Is there somebody within striking range? Yes, there is. All right, I'm going to use First Strike. I make my attack roll. I hit. Cool. But even if I missed whatever my attack roll, that is now my initiative. So that might allow me to win initiative and go again immediately after that. So there's that's a hell of an exploit, but you also can't do it until your 9th level, and it's going to cost you 3 mana to do it. It's basically a 3rd level spell for a 1-action boost, which is a very Berserker thing to have. Both Hypertunistic, Hypertunistic is a very Berserker thing. First Strike is really good too. It's not, they don't have that. I might consider, if we wanted to change something, First strike would definitely be something worth consider adding. Double strike is a maneuver. It's 2nd rank. Let's go check that out real quick. Double strike is... Where you at, buddy? Maneuver. I know you're in here. Reactions. Oh, that's why. Double strike. There you go. Double strike. Make 2 weapon attacks with advantage. You can draw a weapon as part of each attack. Now, maneuvers can be used as actions or bonus actions, or both. So, like, your rogue could channel double strike as an action. And so you'd have 2 attacks, and they're at advantage. So if a rogue blows 2 mana, they can make attacks and get sneak attack advantage off, get their sneak attack off of it. Opportunistic. Opportunist is a sustained power. Going down here and looking at opportunist. This is a good one. I like this. Opportunist. While this power is sustained, when you take the attack action, you can forgo any number of attacks during your turn to gain an equal number of additional opportunity attacks. Not reactions, opportunity attacks. Which is still limited to 1 per turn, but could also include your own turn. Like if you push somebody and you could have an opportunity attack for them leaving your space, you'd be able to trigger an opportunity attack off of that. So you get your normal reaction, plus a number of opportunity attacks equal to however many attacks you're willing to sacrifice from your attack action. And of course, a fighter that uses action surge would have to trigger opportunist. Would have to, it's always active. So your sustained, an action surge would give you an extra attack action. You could then sacrifice that as well. An 11th level fighter that has opportunist active and uses both their action and their action surge could make 6 opportunity attacks plus have a reaction. So it gets pretty thick pretty quick. Curse of Exposure. Curse of Exposure, what that does is that a target creature loses immunity or resistance, depending on what they have. Frenzied Attack, sus 4. While sustaining this power, you gain 1 additional attack when you take the attack action, and every one of them is at advantage. That's a 4th level power, so you have to be level 13 to use it. And then Wave of Terror, maneuver 3. Wave of Terror basically it's just anyone that's nearby you that you choose is afraid of you. So that's how the powers work. It's a good set. It's a good kit if you're willing to power that stuff up enough. Hey Tex, what's up? Something tells me I'm at 12 level. Yeah, I feel like I want to first blood. First blood. Pentakill. Okay, so what did the features do, right? Frenzied, starting at 3rd level. When you choose this path at 3rd level, you go into a frenzy when you rage. For the duration of your rage, you can make a single melee attack as a bonus action on each of your turns, including the turn you choose to rage. So, yeah, you don't have to have any kind of special features. We may have to revise this depending on what ends up happening with dual weapons and stuff. But this allows you to basically make an extra attack with a 2-handed weapon. So, like, heavy weapons, a light. Mindless Rage, 6th level. You can't be charmed or frightened while raging. And if you are charmed or frightened, when you enter your rage, the effect ends. So there's a lot of fear effects that are in the power system. Dragon fear and stuff like that are not to be unexpected. So this is actually a pretty useful ability. Intimidating Presence, 10th level. Begin at 10th level. While raging, you can use your bonus action, including the bonus action used to rage, to frighten a creature with your Intimidating Presence. When you do so, choose one creature that you can see within 30 feet of you. If the creature can see or hear you, it must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw or be frightened of you. The creature can make additional saving throws at the end of each of its turns to end the effect. The effect also ends when your rage ends. If the creature ends its turn out of line of sight or more. This is intimidating. Intimidating Presence. It's basically a free power. You can't use this feature on the same creature again until you finish a long rest, and you can only affect one creature with your Intimidating Presence at a time. It's basically, a bonus fear effect. There are other fear effects that we've looked at already. This is just a bonus one that you get. Retaliation, starting at 14th level. When you take damage from a creature that is within reach of your melee attacks, you can make an opportunity attack against that creature. So when you take damage from a creature that is within reach of your melee attacks. You can make an opportunity attack against that creature. Here's something fun about that. It says you can make an opportunity attack specifically. And other things like Opportunist said that you can make multiple opportunity attacks. Let's go look at reactions real quick because this is fucking cool. Let's see. Deflection. As a reaction to when you or an ally within reach of your melee attack are hit by an attack roll from a source you can see, the attack is rerolled, taking the new result. The reroll cannot score a critical hit. The power is considered an opportunity attack. So you can trigger, it costs you mana to do it, but it counts as an opportunity attack. So whenever you have the opportunity to make, whenever you could make an opportunity attack, you could spend a point of mana and trigger deflection. So how did this work? When you take damage from a creature that is within reach of your melee attacks, you can make an opportunity attack against that creature. So you can trigger deflection. So it hits you, you're going to take damage. You could force them to reroll before you actually take the damage. Downtrodden is considered an opportunity attack. So if you knock somebody prone, if somebody is prone, as a reaction to when an enemy you can see within range of your weapon attack becomes prone, you can make an attack roll. You can make an attack rolling 1 power die per mana burned, adding the highest result to your attack roll. This is considered an opportunity attack. So if somebody falls down in front of you, spend a point of mana, add a power die to your attack roll, and then you can hit them as an opportunity attack. So that's a circumstantial trigger, but like, for example, feint, as a reaction to when you miss an attack roll, you can roll again, potentially turning the miss into a hit. This power is considered an opportunity attack, so you can stack that up. If you have Opportunist, you can use Feint. Let's see, what else is an opportunity attack? There's more of them. There we go, Parry. As a reaction to when another creature you can see damages you with a melee attack. This would be useful because it triggers when you get hit. Roll 1 power die per mana burned, reducing the damage by the total rolled plus your channeling modifier. So if a barbarian is using your channeling modifier, say it's a +5, and your third level, you have third rank, like your 9th level, third rank power, you just got hit for 40 points of damage, you'd roll 3d8 plus, say, an 18 in your strength, so it'd be 3d8 plus 4. That's the amount of damage that you would reduce for parry is what? 1? Yeah, is 1 mana. So useful. Very, very useful. What else you got? There's a lot of them. Punish. As a reaction to an enemy that you can see within range of your melee attack misses an attack roll against you or an ally, you can make an attack, adding dice to damage, and it's considered an opportunity attack. Countering attack. As a reaction to an enemy within range of your weapon attack casts a spell. Make an attack. If it hits, the caster takes damage and must make a Constitution saving throw against your channeling DC, or half the damage dealt, whichever is greater. If the save fails, the spell is disrupted as though affected by counter spell, and it's considered an opportunity attack. So all you gotta do is get inside of a caster's space, and you can just basically it's 2 mana plus an attack roll. And if the attack, obviously the attack roll is going to determine whether you can trigger as a reaction to an enemy. To make an attack. If it hits, there you go. So you spend the 2 mana to make the attack. If it hits, they get the save. If they fail to save, it's countered. But on top of that, when you make an attack, you can trigger smite. So strike powers. So you could counter them and then also, like, say, punt them 20 feet. So it gets a little nutty. It can get a little nutty. You can blow through a lot of mana, but you can create super cool combos as a result of it. So I like retaliation. I think that's super fun. With a melee attack, you can make opportunity attacks. And we ironically don't have any reactions that would trigger that. Interesting. But I think intimidating presence, I think, is the only thing that I think I want to look at here real quick. Because we get intimidating strike, which is you hit somebody. And then there's wave of terror, which affects everyone around you. This intimidating presence, you Use this feature on the same creature again until you finish a long rest. Let's do this instead. Begin at 10th level while raging. I don't think that I don't think that's much of a glam. Let's do this instead. Beginning at 10th level while raging when you use the begin at 10th level while raging when you channel the intimidating strike power. Let's go look at intimidating strike real quick to make sure I'm not going to eat my hat on this, but I think a cooler effect would be to modify intimidating strike. So let's look at what it does and then see what we can do. Intimidating strike. Your damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned, and the creature is frightened of you until you lose line of sight or are incapacitated. The creature can attempt to end this effect by succeeding a wisdom saving throw at the end of each of its turns. What do I want to do with that? Let's do this. Starting at 14th level, no, that's not intimidating presence. Beginning at 10th level while raging, you can channel the intimidating strike power as though it is a combat mastery. Spending 0 mana. You don't gain any additional damage since no mana is spent. There. So now it becomes a combat mastery that you can use every time you hit somebody with a weapon. They're automatically going to be scared of you until they can succeed an intelligence saving throw, which means they're not going to get anywhere near you. That is a considerable glam up. I'm actually pretty happy with that. Hey, what's up? I feel the intimidating presence overlaps a lot. Yeah, exactly. It should be hard to justify using presence instead of the bonus. Yeah, absolutely. I think this resolves that problem. It's just, it doesn't, spending 0 mana, it effectively becomes a combat mastery. And combat masteries don't cost any mana. You can't use it with a strike. Masteries replace strikes. They're basically strike cantrips. So this replaces that. They're now scared. They don't even get a saving throw. They just get scared, which is worthy of 10th level. Use this power for free. Spend mana if you want to, but if you don't want to spend any mana, they're going to be scared of you anyway. I love that. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So let's go back to our document. Let's go look at the banneret. Fighter. Let's look at 5e condition. Frightened. Just a reminder, sells what it does. Disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls while the source of its sphere is within line of sight. Can't move closer to the source. Wow, that is intense. But they get the saving throw at the end of each turn, so that's fair. And they can just move out of sight. They can just hide for a minute, and then there you go. So if they run and hide, they can drop the effect, but then if you hit them again, it takes effect again, which you could do anyway with Intimidating Strike. It just doesn't cost you anything to do it, so high efficiency there. Banneret. Let's go find Banneret. Fighter. Fighter gets a shitload of stuff we spent a lot of times looking at in the past. We'll skip over it for now. Banneret, Purple Dragon Knight. Bonus powers. Swift Assessment. It lets you investigate as an action. And gain bonus and gain bonuses to do so. Inspiring Leader is a feat that already exists. Rally, it's a maneuver. It allows you to grant temporary hit points to whatever target you choose. Coordinated Dash, if the target can see or hear you, they can use their reaction to move. Intimidating Strike, we just talked about that. Deadly Presence causes damage as an area of effect around you if they're within range of your melee weapon and you're not incapacitated or paralyzed. Coordinated Attack is another maneuver. If they can see or hear you, then they can use their reaction to make an attack, and they gain a power die to do so. Allied Assault means that you and an ally of your choice, you and every ally that you choose, has advantage to attack a target until the end of your turn. Sorry, until the beginning. I think it's till the beginning of your next turn. Let me double check that. Allied Assault, sustained power 2. So you have to maintain concentration on this, but it's pretty good. So let's go look at Allied. Where are you? Oh, wait. That's a maneuver. Thank you. It's a maneuver too. Durr. So either as an action or a bonus action. Allied Assault. When you channel this maneuver to target a creature you can see, you and other creatures gain advantage to hit that target until the beginning of your next turn. There you go. So you could use your bonus action to Allied Assault and then get advantage on the attack, and then your rogue also gets sneak attack on them. Cooperative Effort. What does that do? Maneuver 2. Looks like that changed. Where are you? Maybe it's an exploit now. This document is apparently out of date. It's 2 now. When using the help action to grant advantage to the ability check or attack of an ally within 30 feet, roll 1 power die per mana channeled, adding the highest result to the ally's die roll. It's basically, what is it? Is it a reaction or is it a maneuver? Or is it an exploit? Ooh, it's an exploit. That modifies the help action. There you go. You burn mana while helping. You have to spend 2 mana. You get 2 dice. Keep the best result. Well, that's pretty fucking good. Mana 2, maneuver. Okay, still legit. And Commanding Presence. There. What's Commanding Presence? Exploit 1. Oh, that's the die rolls to the social checks, right? Let's see. Okay, what do we get? Rallying Cry, no changes. Second wind grants up to 3 allies hit points equal to your fighter level. Let's take a look at what Second Wind does for the fighter. Thank you. How long have I been doing this? Okay, still got a little bit of time left. Let's go find Rally, which is a maneuver. You or an ally you can see gains a number of temporary hit points equal to the total of 1 power die rolled for each point of mana burned. And Rally here, rallying, what was it called? Rallying Cry? Rallying Carbureau? Second wind grants up to 3 allies hit points. Okay, so Rallying Cry. Channel Vitality. When you use Second Wind, you can also regain a number of spent mana equal to the max rank of power gained as a fighter. Fighter. Features. Let's just double check it. Second wind. You have a limited well of stamina that you can draw on to protect yourself from harm on your turn. You can use a bonus action to regain hit points equals the D10 plus your fighter level. Once you use this feature, you must finish a short or long rest before you can use it again. Why 3? It sounds like they're just doing a 3 because they assume that a party is a 4. Not necessarily into that, though. So let's see. And then the banneret. Purple Knight. When you choose this archetype at 3rd level, you learn how to inspire to fight past their injuries. When you use the second wind feature, you can choose up to 3 creatures within 60 feet of you that you are allied with. Each one regains hit points equal to your fighter level, provided the creature can see or hear you. Up to 3. Let's I feel like that could be better. When you use the second wind class feature, you can within 60 feet to gain an equal number of hit points. Okay, so it starts off at 3rd level. When you get this, you're only going to be able to affect one other, because at 3rd level you can channel 1 rank of power. So starting at 3rd level, choose somebody. When you take second wind, they're going to get as many hit points back as well. At 5th level, you can target 2 people. At 17th level, you can target up to 5 other, and they'll all get that D10 plus however much. I like that better. Royal Envoy, no changes. Gain persuasion. Let's see. Royal Envoy at 7th level. You gain proficiency in persuasion. If you're already proficient in it, you gain proficiency in 1 other skill. Let's change that. Our tech has improved since then. Let's see. You gain the skilled feat. You can choose up to 3 skills from animal handling, insight, intimidation, performance, or persuasion. You gain the skill feat. Gaining persuasion as a skill that you have expertise in. Plus, you can choose 2 additional skills from animal handling, insight, intimidation, and performance. There, better. Inspiring Surge. Remind me, what does Inspiring Surge do? When you use an action surge feature, you can choose one creature within 60 feet of you that is allied with you. That creature can make one melee or ranged weapon attack with its reaction, provided that it can see or hear you. Starting at 18th level, you can choose 2 allies within 60 feet. Boy, that's not inspiring. That is not inspiring. Let's go with when you use action surge, you can choose one creature Now 2 attacks at 10, 3 at 11. When you use your action surge feature, you can choose I think we can do better on that. Let's see. When you use the action surge class feature, you can choose a number of allies equal to your max rank of power gained as a fighter to make an attack an opportunity attack equal to gain as a fighter to use their reaction to make an opportunity attack. There you go. So it'll be at 9th level, it'll be 3. At 17th level, it'll be 5. And they can all use opportunity attacks, which could be opportunity powers if you wanted instead. Hey, what's up? Oh, hey, man. It's good to see you. This isn't really a complaint. This isn't a complete thought, but a restraining hold is really cool. Cool, thanks. And I like the utility, okay, but only doing one instance of power die total for the effect feels really not great. Might it be possible to make it such that you can attack, you can spend an attack on your turn to cause one power die to something you have in a you can already make attacks against things that are being restrained, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that just something you can do? Or does it have to be a light weapon? I can swear you can make attacks while grappling, right? Can you 5e? 5e. Can I make attacks while grappled? Yeah, you can still take any actions you want, including attacking the creature that grappled you. Oh, I see what you're saying. It doesn't feel great. So you're saying, Since you're grappled and they're grappled, it kind of knows out. Let's take a look at that in a second. Oh yeah, this has been subverted. So we need to build a new banneret power for 18th level. Needs new 18. Let's look at 10. Let me get back to you on that. Let's see. I am willing to consider that. Let's look at this first. Bulwark, 15th level. You can extend the benefit of your Indomitable feature to an ally. When you decide to use Indomitable to reroll a saving throw and you aren't incapacitated, you can choose one ally within 60 feet of you that also fails its saving throw against the same effect. If that creature can see or hear you, it can reroll its saving throw and must use the next roll. If you use any power dice to increase the result of your saving throw using Indomitable, the chosen ally can add the result of to their saving throw as well. Okay, I like Bulwark. That's fine as is, actually. So let's go look at Restraining Hold. I think this is a worthy conversation, so thanks for bringing it up. Restraining Hold, melee only. While grappling, you can deal 1 power die of weapon damage per mana burned to the grappled creature. And this is a maneuver. And the creature is restrained until the grapple ends. Let's do it like this. While grappling, the creature is restrained until the grapple ends. No, we should change that. While grappling, the creature is restrained. No, I guess I was right. Is restrained until the grapple ends. The creature can make a strength or dexterity saving throw at the end of each of its turns to end the effect. This does not end the grapple. Oh, wait, yeah. Let's see. While grappling, the creature is restrained until the grapple ends. The creature can make a strength or dexterity saving throw at the end of each of its turns to end the effect. Can make a strength or dexterity saving throw at the end of each of its turns. To break the grapple. If it succeeds, the grapple is broken. Yeah, you're right. That is a little thin. We can do better. It's 1 mana though, so we have to think about our limits. A restrained creature speed becomes 0, and it can't benefit from any bonus to its speed. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage, and the creature's attack rolls have disadvantage. The creature has disadvantage on saving throws. You can deal damage equal to, while grappling, while grappling, the target is restrained until, I want to word this. The target takes damage equal to your weapon. Takes weapon. How do I want to word that? While grappling, you automatically Well, you can make an attack, but I mean like a squeeze that deals a small amount of auto damage. Yeah. While grappling, you deal weapon damage plus 1 power die per mana, and the target is restrained until the grapple ends. So now you're dealing just full weapon damage instead of just a power die. The creature can make a strength or dexterity saving throw to end the effect of its turns. At the end of each of its turns, if it succeeds, the grapple ends. There, how about that? Because you're effectively... it costs you 1 mana to get into it, and for that 1 mana, you dealt damage and a power die, and it's restrained. If it succeeds, the grapple ends. If it fails... Yeah, the creature can make strength or dexterity. So the grapple ends. That simplifies things. The creature can attempt to end the grapple as normal. Deal weapon damage. And the target is restrained until the grapple ends. The creature can attempt to end the grapple as normal. Unnecessary. Simplified. It is only 1 mana. And the target is restrained until the grapple ends. There you go. That's simplified. There's a feat. Grappler might be a thing to use. Oh, is Grappler a feat? Am I just not aware of it? I might have to add that to the list. You and the creature are both restrained until the grapple ends. Okay, no, you're right though. That's a good frame of reference. First off, we should add that. I got to go after this. First off, that should be on the list. If there's other feats that aren't on this list that arguably should be on it, it may just be that I missed it somehow, let me know. You're certainly welcome to throw out ideas. Throw around ideas. We need to build an 18th level for this. What's this? But I am with you here. So let's go back to that's a good point. First off, it's grapple, it's restrained, and you are not. So you can keep moving, but it can't. So that's good. Where do you go? Maneuvers. Restrain, hold. While grappling, you deal one weapon. While grappling, you deal one weapon die per power mana, and the target is restrained until the grapple ends. In addition, you have advantage on attacks against the target. Yeah, there you go. That should be sufficient. That was just thank you. That was just a little bit of extra pepper I think that was needed. So melee only. While grappling, you can deal weapon damage plus 1 power die per mana, and the target is restrained until the grapple ends. In addition, you have advantage on attacks against the target. There you go. So it's up and close. You're automatically going to do weapon plus power die worth of damage to it. And then, in addition, you have advantage to make further attacks against it, and it stays restrained until it can break its hold. That, I think, is probably going to be sufficient. Put that together. Let's run that. Let's run that on Saturday. See if that feels good. And I gotta go. That's my lunch. So let's go ahead and hit save here. I think that'll work. So when we come back, we'll be back on Friday. So we're going to finish up the banneret, we're going to look at the mastermind, and then we're going to make sure that our movement interaction is properly resolved. Reconsider rank, rewording and reduce mana spent for the mastermind. There. Cool. So far, so good. So far, so good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. Anyone, you're welcome to drop comments or ideas at me in the Discord channel, of course. Anyone that doesn't know where the Discord is at, that's checking out the channel, you can find my Discord here. It's on the About page of my Patreon. There. This link should be active currently. There you go. So, maybe I'll see some people there. I am out of here for now, so I will catch you guys later. Thanks a lot.